So let us see the next LOS, explain the principles of the demand and supply. Right. So please note that the quantity that you are demanding of any product, let's say you want to consume number of ice creams. So how you determine how many ice creams you will buy? So you have to see what is the demand of what is the price of the ice cream. If the price of ice cream is very low, you will consume more. Okay. Also it depends on your income level. Okay. Also it depends on if you want to consume ice cream, you will see that what is the price of Coke. If the price of Coke is low, you may say, okay, I want Coke rather than ice cream, so price of other products. Then there can be a lot of other things like your preference. You may, even though the Coke price is lower, but you do not want to consume Coke because you think that ice cream is much better for you, right? So there can be a lot of other factors which determine the quantity demanded, but what we can say is that these are the three major factors which will determine the price of the quantity that is demanded, right? So quantity that is demanded, so price, income, and the price of other products. So what we can say is the quantity demanded is a dependent variable, and it is dependent on this price, income, and price of other products. So it's a function of all these factors. So what we can do is we can represent the quantity demanded as a function of this factor. So we have this denotation Q to denote the quantity demanded. D is for demand because this is demand, and X is the item for which we are seeing the quantity demanded. So quantity demanded for X is a function of price of X, the income, and price of Y. Y is the price of maybe complementary products, substitute products, right? So here we take an example of the quantity that is demanded of the product, which is T. And we are saying that this function is a linear function, and it is linear in terms of your price of tea, your income, and the coffee. Coffee is a substitute product for your tea, and usually what you find is when your price of coffee increases, people will flock to tea. Okay, so we are saying that they will substitute coffee with tea, and as a result the demand of tea would increase. So all of this we'll see. So think about what will happen with the price increase of tea. When the increase of price in tea happens, this is negative. We say that the quantity demanded of tea would decrease. So it depends on the income also. If the income increases, your quantity demanded increases. So here we have the quantity demanded is a weekly tea demand, and it is in gram. So the weekly tea consumed by a household in gram, right? Here the coffee and tea prices are in dollar per kg. Income is the monthly income and expressed in dollar terms, right? So we have a question: how much will be the weekly demand of tea when we have this as a falling? So the price of tea is, let's say, $6 per kg. Monthly income is $5,000, and coffee price is $20 per kg. So with this as the data, we need to know how much is the weekly demand for the tea, right? So let us see this in our Excel sheet. Okay, so in our Excel sheet we have the weekly demand. Okay, so what we are saying is we have the weekly demand of tea from a household, and let us try to understand how we have constructed this Excel. Though even though it is not important, just to get an idea. So what we are saying is the price of tea is 6, the income is 5,000, price of coffee is 20. Okay, and we have the equation. Okay, in the equation earlier that we had, okay, note that we had this as the equation. So this is our equation that we have. Okay, so this is our equation. Let us see. Okay, right. So what we have over here is, okay, this is your quantity demanded of tea, right? So if the quantity demanded of tea is represented like this, so what we are saying is this 100 is our intercept, okay, and the coefficient of tea is 0.7. So here the coefficient of tea is 0.7, the coefficient of income is 0.05, and the coefficient of coffee is 0.02, right? So if we have this data, we need to compute what is the quantity demanded. So this comes as 346.2. So how we have done? We have said that the quantity demanded is F11, which is 100. This is 100. Okay, come over here. Then you have F12. F12 is the income. Okay, sorry, F12 is the coefficient of T, 0.7 minus 0.7 into price of the T. What is the price of the T? 6. So we have multiplied over here your F12 okay, which is this. So this is your F12, and C11, which is this. So this 6 into minus 0.7, okay. Then I have F13. F13 is this 0.05 into your C12, which is 5000, right? And F14 0.02 into price of the coffee, which is 20. So this formula will give me the quantity that you will demand of tea when the price is 6. Okay, when the price is 6, so it so happens that you demand 346 gram of tea in a week. So this is the weekly consumption of a family in terms of the gram of the tea, right? So this is their demand, so 346.2, right? Now what we are saying is we have a concept of own price. Please note that here we have two prices. One is the price of tea and the price of the coffee. This price of tea is known as the own price, and this is the price of the complement or the substitute products, right? So own price is reference to the price of the good that is being demanded. Okay, most of the time also we need to know that here we have taken three factors like the own price, the price of coffee, and the income level. Many times people are interested in knowing that what is the quantity of the tea that would be demanded depending on the price of only tea, and we ignore all other things. We say that assuming that the price of coffee is held constant, assuming if the income level is held constant. So we are interested in the demand of a product. It depends on what we want is only on one factor. We assume all the factors, other factors are constant, and this in Latin it is called as ceteris paribus. It means that if others are held constant. Okay, so if we fix the price of the coffee and we fix the income level, we need to know how much is the quantity that we are going to demand. So coffee price we have fixed at 20 per kg. The income level we have fixed as 5000 per month. So we said that the quantity demanded is 100 minus 0.7 of tea into 0.05 into 5000, 0.02 into 20, because we had 0.05 of income, 0.02 of coffee. So we have 0.05 into 5000. This will become 250. 0.05 into 5000, 250. 0.02 into 20 will become 0.4. So the quantity demanded, so you have now this as 100. 100 plus 250 is 350 plus 0.4. So the quantity demanded of tea has become 350.4. And you have this as a coefficient. So what we can say is the quantity demanded of tea can be written as 350.4 minus 0.7 into price of tea. So here we have now the demand of tea is with respect to only the price of the tea, assuming that coffee price and income is fixed at these two levels, right? So we have a demand of tea as a function of the price of the tea, right? So let us see what happens. Okay, in another case, what we can do is here we have said that quantity is a function of price. We can also represent, please note that we can represent price as a function of quantity. So in this case, what we can do is if we can bring this tea over here, so we can write price of tea. Okay, so what we are saying is this is a quantity demanded. So I want to have price as a function of quantity. So I can bring this price over here. So I'll say that 0.7 into price of tea is equal to 350.4 minus quantity of tea that is demanded. So as a result, the price of tea can be written as 350.4, this divided by 0.7 minus 1 by 0.7 into the quantity of tea that is demanded, right? So if I simplify this, okay, I will get this simplification and this simplification. What I have done is I have done it in Excel. Okay, so what I am saying is we have the quantity, so whatever the value that we have divided by 12.7, so it gives me this. So the price of tea is actually written as a function of quantity. So we say that if you 350.4 divided by 0.7, what value you are going to get? 500.57. So this is the value that you have got, and 1 by 0.7 is 1.43. So this is now a function of price of tea as a function of the quantity that is demanded. Right? This is can be used now to explain that, okay, how the demand of different quantity has the impact on the price that people are willing to pay, right? So this is what we have. Okay, Okay, so we now have the demand of T as a function. We have now the demand can be obtained as a quantity. So please note that here the restriction of the quantity should be done. Okay, so the restriction of quantity should be done such that you cannot go, quantity cannot be increased a lot. So the price, please note that price cannot be negative. So you cannot increase quantity a lot so that it becomes negative. So if you put this, the quantity comes as 350 gram. So if you are making the quantity as 350, your price of the tea will become 0. Or to get what price the tea is becoming 0, so we say that, okay, if the price of the tea is becoming 0, so what is the quantity demanded? The quantity that you demand is 500.57 divided by 1.53. So in this case it will become 500.57 divided by 1.43. So it comes as 350.04. Right? So this is the maximum quantity that you are going to demand. If quantity is more than this, it cannot happen because the price of the tea will become negative. Right? So usually what happens is, we have now this equation. Okay, so the price of the tea is with respect to some quantity 1 minus 0.3 and you have 500.57. right? So you have, if you see, this is the equation. Okay, so what I can do is think about, this is the price, so we will have price in the y-axis, okay, and we have quantity in the x-axis, okay, and we want to plot it. Okay, so think about, if the price, if the quantity is 0, so what will happen if the quantity is becoming 0? If the quantity is becoming 0, so we have this case, and the price that you are going to determine is 500.57. okay, now when your quantity demanded is 340 or 350, okay, so we have come up with the data which is 350. If your quantity demanded is 350, your price will be roughly 0. When the quantity demanded is 350, the price will be roughly 0. And since it's a linear line, so you will see that the line will follow this path. So this is the line representation of price with respect to the quantity diagrammatically. So this is a diagrammatic representation. Okay. Now when we have this as a diagrammatic representation, this is called as the demand curve. So this is nothing but your demand curve. So how you can create a demand curve? You need to have only 2 points. So we have selected this as the first point. When the quantity demanded was 0, we got this. When the quantity demanded was 350, or we say that what is the point when the price is 0? When the price is 0, we have seen that quantity demanded is 350. So if you join these two, it will give you the line. Okay, so what I have done is, to give you a better understanding, I have given this in the Excel. So what we have is intercept and the coefficient, okay, of this, and what we are doing over here is, we are trying to see at different quantity level what is the price that you are seeing. If the quantity is 1, what is the price? So quantity is 1, the price will be 500.57 minus 1.53. so if I press this, what I have is 500.57 minus, this is C19. Please note that you have this over here, 500.57 is the C18, this is C and this is 18, 500.57. You have C19 is this value, okay, C19, and you have D21 is this D and 21. So this is D and 21, this value. So quantity is 1, you are trying to see what will be the price, right? Similarly, you will have quantity, I am increasing. So here if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, the quantity levels are increasing. If you have 2 quantity, the price will be this, 3 quantity, the price will be this. So all the place, what I am saying is, I am seeing this quantity. Note that these 2 will remain constant and this quantity will change. So if I draw this over here, you will be able to see I have taken for different quantity and I have gone till 350. At 350 the price is 3.57. If I go and make it 351, you are seeing that the price has become negative, right? So we will go till 350, and using this we will be able to understand how the demand curve is going to happen. Right, so let us see how the demand curve is created. So we have a demand curve. This demand curve is created from this data. Let let me show you how I can create. But this is the line that you have 500 and this would be 350. So you have this as the price of the product, and this is the quantity demanded, and this is your demand curve. So to create this kind of demand curve, what you do is you select this, go down till here. Okay, let's say we select only the positive value, and we go over here and we create a scatter plot, and we say that okay, I create this scatter plot. So this is the scatter plot that you have created. Only the thing is labels are different. Okay, so you can change the labels over here. Okay, and you can include those values. So you can say that this is the quantity demanded that you have for the product, right? Makes sense? 500 and 350. So this is your demand curve. In fact, you find that okay, this is the construction of the demand curve. So I have drawn from here the demand curve. So price versus the quantity demanded that you get, right? So this is the demand curve, and here we have assumed the curve to be linear. Please note that in reality the demand curves are not linear. The demand curve can be a curve because here we had said that it's dependent on quantity directly, but it can be some quadratic power, etc. So it is demand curve is like this. But one of the properties of the demand curve is it is a downward sloping. So the slope is downward. Okay, now why the reason is downward sloping? Because what happens is as you are going to increase the price of the product. So let's say suppose you had the price of the product as 300. At 300 price, people were consuming this much quantity. Okay, now note that if the company has increased the price of the product to 400, naturally that time the demand would be lower, right? So if you are paying more price, there are less and less people who are consuming, so the quantity demanded would decrease. So an increase in the price would result in decrease in the quantity, right? Or think in other way, if the company who was selling 400 product, okay, and was selling this much quantity, it is trying to see that okay, let's say I decrease the price. Okay, how much I will be able to sell. So if you are selling price was 400, you decrease it to 300, you see that there is a jump in the quantity, right? So when the price is decreased, you find that the quantity demanded has increased, and that is being represented by this curve. So this negative, it is explaining the entire thing. So your downward sloping because we are saying that this is negative. Okay, most other products are downward sloping demand curve. There are certain products which can be having upward sloping, which are which people say that higher the price it is better. Those kind of product. We'll see all of this product in later readings, right? Now our focus is to understand how the demand curve it changes. Okay, and what do you call as the movement along the demand curve? Please note that okay, when the product price change, when the own price change, okay, when the product's own price change, the quantity demanded also change. The quantity demanded change on the changes in the own price. Okay, so please note that when only the price changes, there are no other changes. Okay, there are no other changes, only the price of the product is changing. Okay, you will go a movement along the demand curve. Okay, we'll see that how the movement is happening. However, note that in such cases that the demand function remains constant. There is no change in the demand function. So going back to the previous slide, okay, so what we have seen is if I change the price, okay, so if let's say the price is changed, so from 400, okay, so the price 400 was there, I am changing the price to 300. Okay, so what was happening is I was at point 1, I have moved to point 2. So my movement has along the line from 1 I have moved to 2. When it is only because the price changes. So when the price is changing, you will move along the line. Okay, so there will be movement along the line when the price changes. Okay, however, when let's say other item change, let's say example is the price of coffee is changing. Okay, price of coffee is changing, or your income is changing, then you do not see this demand curve. The demand curve will not remain the same. In case of this, we are seeing that the other factors remaining constant. What will happen? This you find as a movement along the curve, right? From 300, if you make the price as 300, you have come to this point, third point. So this is a movement along the curve that you have, right? So the next thing that we have is the next thing is that we want to understand what will happen if your income level is changing or coffee's price is changing. There will be a change in the demand function. Note that the demand function will not remain constant. Okay, so let's say assume that your salary has gone to $5,500 per month and there is no change in the coffee price. We need to understand that what would be the new demand curve. So please note that, okay, the demand curve which we had earlier found out, okay, we had assumed certain things. Okay, so earlier we had considered so please note that when we had considered the earlier demand curve, we had said that this is the value. So this is your demand curve. So let us put this as the demand curve and see that what will be the impact. Let us see, my demand curve earlier was this. We said that a quantity demanded is equal to 100 minus this plus 0.5. We had said that our income level was 5,000 and price of coffee is 20. But instead of income being 5,000, we will change the income to 5,500. Assuming the coffee price remains the same, and we have now the demand curve is this, okay, into price of tea. So we have this as 100. This will become 250 plus 25, it will become 275. This will remain 0.4 and you have 0.7 into price of tea. So what we are saying is the quantity of tea demanded will be equal to 375.4 minus 0.7 into price of tea. So note that earlier we had that was equal to how much? It was 350.4. So quantity demanded old. The quantity demanded old was 350.4 minus 0.7 into price of tea. The quantity demanded new is 375.4 minus 0.7 into price of tea. Okay. Now, if you see the difference between this, okay, assume that if the price, okay, is 0, if the price is 0, what happens is earlier you were demanding 350 products. Okay. Now when the price has made 0, you have started demanding 375. Okay, so for the same level of price, if the price is 0, for the same level of price, you are seeing that there's an increase in demand. Okay, so this is natural because what has happened is your salary level has increased from 5,000 to 5,500. So there is an increase in the salary level. So what you see is when people's salary level increases, the quantity of the product they will demand will also increase. Right? And this we have represented in our same Excel. Okay, let us see. Now before seeing the Excel, let us see what will happen to the this is the quantity demanded as a function of price. Now we can change with respect to price I want. So with respect to price I want this. So what we can have is I can bring the price this side and this will be equal to 375 divided by 0.7 and 1 by 0.7. So what happens is there is a shift. The price is now a function of quantity. This has changed. It is not the same as the previous case, right? So what we are saying is there is a shift in the demand curve. You will find a quantity will increase at the same price level. Okay, so the price is now given as this factor. So what we have is the price is given over here. Note that this was our old price and this is our new price. So in the new price the coefficient is 536.29 and the coefficient is 1.43, and when the quantity demanded is 1, what you find is the price is 534. Okay, earlier it was 499. So you see there is a change. Now how do you find out how the change has happened? So let us see. What we do is we create the data. Okay, for you now we create a scatter plot and this is the scatter plot that you find. Okay, so it is not a magic something. So please note that it is not something which is a magic, right? So what we are saying is, okay, this was your earlier demand curve, the price old, this was your earlier demand curve, and what has happened is because of the changes your demand curve has shifted. Okay, and this is when the demand curve shifts to the right. So whenever you see the demand curve is shifting like this, we say that there is an increase in demand. Why we say as an increase in demand? Because if you see for the same price level, let's say 300, earlier you were demanding this as the quantity Q1. Now you have started demanding a higher quantity. For the same price your quantity demand has increased. So that is why we are saying this as an increase in demand. Okay, or look at the other way. So let's say for quantity 200, earlier people were saying that okay, this is the price level, but people are willing to pay a higher price now, okay, to consume the same level of quantity. So there's an increase in demand, or we say that the demand curve shifts to the right. Okay, so an increase in demand means that the demand curve is shifting to the right. Okay, let us see our presentation. So this is one of your assignment. You have to see that what will be the new demand curve when salary is constant, but we are now changing the coffee price. The coffee price is become 30. So whenever the coffee price, which is a substitute, it is increasing, people will demand more tea, right? So again there will be a increase in the demand. Okay, so this is what we have, the change in the demand. So price new is the red one, and also there's a shift in the demand curve.